Hey, what's up guys? So today's video, we are going to be getting ready to go to the drag strip. So usually when you get ready to go to the drag strip, there's lots of stuff to do, or stuff you should do to get ready to go. And we're going to talk about some of that today while we look over the Nova to get it ready to go racing. So let's get to it. You're going to go to drag racing for possibly your first time. There's some things that you need to know and things you need to do or you should do. First of all, you have to visually inspect your car before you go. Make sure there's nothing like lug nuts missing. You know, if it's your stock daily driver, the battery has to be held down with some kind of battery retaining device. Now, if your car is basically stock and it has the stock hold down, that's all good. You also need like a radiator overflow. So pretty much something to catch the fluid like this. You know, I used to use like one of these, just a plastic bottle like this with a hose, just to keep any antifreeze from going onto the track. Now if you're a serious kind of racer, you shouldn't even be running antifreeze in your car. You should only run strictly straight water, because if the antifreeze gets on the track, definitely not good. So it's really hard to clean up and the track officials will get very mad at you. So if it's a strictly kind of just a drag car, but if you race it a lot or you plan on racing it a lot, even if it's, you know, a car like this, you're only going to take it once or twice, it's good practice to drain the antifreeze out and put water in. But definitely if you're not going to do that, at least make sure that your hoses are tight. Inspect your radiator hoses. Of course, this car has all braided. Let's go look at the Jimmy. So here's a little better example of an everyday car, right? So you want to check hoses, clamps, make sure they're tight, stuff like that. This is what I mean in terms of a battery hold down. This is the factory one. It's all good. Battery doesn't move anywhere. Overflow container, what you need. So you know, like I said, this truck in that respect is basically ready to go racing. If you got your daily street driver, cruiser, race car, whatever, it's always a good idea to check over everything. Definitely at the beginning of the year, and even every time you go racing, because you definitely don't want an accident to happen. We've all seen drag racing accidents where ball joints have broken or tie rods have broken or wheels have fallen off or whatever, right? So you definitely want to do that, and that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to check the car over. I'm going to jack it up. I'm going to check the suspension, make sure the wheels are tight, take a look at the ball joints and tie rods, hoses, all that kind of stuff. So let's do that. So we got the car lifted up. Now I know some of you guys are saying, well, this is dumb, I know all this, but this is just for more of the guys who don't. So what I like to do is, if you have an older car that's not redone like say this one is, you can even just do a visual inspection, you know, take a look. All the bolts are good, the shocks aren't broken, your exhaust isn't falling off, unless you're taking the exhaust off, of course. You have no major leaks in the differential. Take a look at your U-joints. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually check. I'll just check all the bolts, make sure everything's tight and looks good. Like I was driving it on Sunday, I had a little bit of brake fluid leak here. Fitting was a bit loose, so I ended up tightening it and wiping it down, and now it looks like it's okay. But I'm still going to get in there and just take a double check to make sure it's good. Yeah, so just visually inspect everything, front and rear. I mean, we'll do the front after this. First, the rear I'm going to check. And you just want to make sure everything's good. Because like I said, if you go to the track and you got a bad U-joint or a tire with a nail in it and then it goes flat, or you break a U-joint, well, you just wasted your day going to the track, right? So we just want to try to make sure that we're going to be safe and that we're going to have fun. So first we'll give these leaf springs a check. Oh, see, this one's actually loose, eh? So that's why it's always a good idea, you know, check this stuff. Especially, like I said, with something with, you know, that's been rebuilt before. Doesn't hurt to make sure everything's good to go. Whoops. Well, there you go. So we did have a few things loose. You know, like I said, it's it probably wouldn't cause an issue, but you never know, right? all this stuff needs a little snugging up, it looks like. What else can we check under here? Oh, the U-joint. Definitely a good idea to check that. And of course my drive shaft is new. Also give your differential a little wiggle. Before we put her on the ground, we're gonna pull this wheel off so we can inspect the brakes. Not going to come out of there. Let's try this again. I just had to move the jacks out, otherwise the tires won't come off. They are definitely dirty. I was getting some squealing from here, and I guess that's why, but it looks dry now. I'll take you in for a look here. You can see how dirty this is. Like, look at that. That's from the brake line leaking right here. So I'll get some brake clean and clean this up. All right, so I got the back wheel on. I got the truck. I got the car back on the ground, and now we're gonna take a look at the front. So in terms of under hood, like I said, hoses, battery, if it's in the front or if it's in the trunk. Now, if your battery's in the trunk, you have to make sure that, my car has basically a steel firewall in the back. But if it doesn't, you have to make sure the battery is vented to the outside. As you can see, I have all my stuff, my fuel cell and everything in the trunk, and that's why that's why there's a steel firewall back there, which you have to have. And then, like I said, if you don't, you have to vent your battery. You put it in like a battery box, and then you have to have, it has a vent that goes outside, etc. Also, if you have the battery in the trunk, you need a kill switch like this. Most people do know that. And let's look at the interior first too. So in the interior, obviously if you're fast enough, you need a roll bar or a roll cage, window net, and seat belts. Now the seat belts expire every 2 years. You have to replace them, which if you look at these ones, they are expired. But I got new ones right over there, so they're gonna be going in today. And but other than that, if your car is basically just a stock or mildly built car, you just got to make sure your seats are bolted down good, they're not moving around. You also have to make sure that you have a seat belt. So if you have an old car and it doesn't have seat belts, you can't race without seat belts. And of course you need a helmet. If your car goes slower than $13.99, you don't technically need a helmet, but honestly I would probably wear one anyways, because you never know what could happen, and hey, you're drag racing, why not wear a helmet, right? Makes you feel like a race car driver. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is just jack it up and check the front end, and we'll be ready to go. Once you get your car up in the air, once again, you can check the wheels, you can check the tires, the lug nuts, make sure they're tight, and make sure that they're all there. And then you're gonna wanna kinda check your front end, so you're gonna wanna check your brake hoses, make sure they're good, no leaks. And then also your tie rod ends and ball joints. To check the tie rods, you can just grab the wheel and give it a wiggle like that and make sure nothing's moving. And you can also lay under the car and do it too, like grab the wheel and do it. As you can see, this is all nice and tight. Go to the other side. Kind of do the same thing. Make sure we're tight. You hear the steering wheel turning, that's the steering wheel. So that feels good. Oh, ow, ouch. And make sure this stuff rolls good. You also want to make sure that you don't have any leaks. If you do have some seeping, like under the oil pan or the transmission pan, you know, where it's a little wet or dirty, if you can get underneath the car like this, get a rag, wipe it off, just so when you go through tech, they don't see it and go, oh, your car leaks. You know, but if you got a leak, like a bad valve cover that leaks a lot, you probably want to fix it because you don't want oil leaking on the track in any way. I'm just going to roll underneath and I'm going to double check those things like the brake hoses and just take a quick look at the underneath of the car, make sure it looks good. And then the only other thing we'll still have to check is the ball joints. There's a way to check them. Different cars, different ways, but I'll show you how to do them on a car like this. I have braided brake lines, not regular like rubber lines, but same thing, just inspect them. Make sure they look good. check your tie rod ends, all that kind of stuff. Make sure all that looks good. I mean, you give it a grease job if you got a grease gun, if it looks like it needs it. Everything in here looks pretty good. I don't really see any issues. Like I said, you roll underneath, take a look at your underneath stuff. Make sure everything's looking good. Most of my car, the stuff's new. Tie rod ends and center link and all that stuff's pretty new or newer. I did notice that my upper ball joint, the rubber dust cover is like blown out. So I'll either have to buy new ball joints for the uppers or see if I can just get the new rubbers. Holds the grease in. There's still grease there. It's just they look a little crappy and there's a big hole. So I'll have to fix those. But that's not critical. I mean, you got to think of what's critical. As long as the ball joints are good, you don't want to drive it like that for a long time. But just like my rear brakes, when I had the wheel off, I took a look at the rear pads and they're pretty much almost at the wear markers, which means they need to be changed. So I'll be ordering a set of those right away. But they're not totally worn out yet, but they're getting close. So that'll have to be done. And my tires are new, so I know I'm good there. And yeah, I'll just finish checking it and we'll put it on the ground and we'll check the ball joints. I put the car on the ground again and I just jacked it up on the lower control arm, you can see. And then pretty much what you do is you get a bar, put it under the tire like this and just lift up on it and you feel for any play. And if you don't feel anything, then you're good. Some cars, when you jack them up on the control arm, you can just pull the tire in and out and you'll be able to feel the ball joints moving around. But on this type of car, that's how you check it. So I'm just gonna check the other one to make sure it's good. And then I'll see what else there is that we need to do. Get these new seat belts in. They're basically the same as the other ones. I had a different brand before. They don't make them the same, so I ended up buying these ones made by G-Force. Pretty nice. I don't know, whatever. They're seat belts. You got the two, and then your lap belt, and this is called a submarine belt, which goes, or also known as a crotch strap. Goes like this. This. Let's get this stuff in. There they are. Now I'm all good to go. Somewhere it says that they're legal. I don't know. I didn't even look at where that part is. What? Oh, right here. There it is. So we're good to go. December 2018. Good for 2 years. Alright guys, so that's it. Car's ready to go. And that's all you need to know for getting your car ready to go racing. So like always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll check you later.